Ohio is the heart of it all, but is it a good place to live? We're getting into it coming up next. Hi, I'm Erin Moore with the Moore Home Team at Key Realty, and I'm a local realtor in the Columbus area. I thought it'd be fun today to get a little more candid and talk about, is Ohio a good place to live? I've actually lived in 3 different parts of Ohio. I grew up in the northeast part. I went to college in the southern part, which today I'm representing my Ohio Bobcats. And for almost 20 years, I've lived in the central part of the state, the Columbus area. So let's get into, is Ohio a good place to live? Let's first talk about Ohio's geography and beauty. A lot of people would be surprised by Ohio's landscape. We have Lake Erie to the north and the Appalachian Plateau to the south. Sure, we still have a lot of fields and cows, but it's definitely not what Ohio's all about. I grew up in the northeast part of the state, and there we had several lakes close by that in the summers we could go to. We could go tubing. If you like water skiing, you could do that, and also camping. We had so many parks around the area. Where I grew up, we actually had a park with a bunch of different rides like carousel, a merry-go-round, swings. It was so cool. So there are so many things to do no matter what part of the state you live in. On the south part of the state, around where I went to college, there are so many hiking trails. It's beautiful, especially in the fall as the leaves are changing color. One of our favorite places to go that's close to Athens, it actually isn't far from the Columbus area. A lot of people love to go down there and go hiking, sometimes spend long weekends in cabins. It's called Hocking Hills. It's gorgeous down there, and you can take your dog with you. You can go hiking on all these different trails. The last time we went to a place called Old Man's Cave, and we took our dog with us, and we had so much fun. She absolutely loved the hike that we went on, and it's something that we try to at least do once a year. So up north, we've got Lake Erie. A lot of people go out on the summer, go boating, fishing. Actually, Lake Erie has a bunch of different islands on it. One of our favorite long weekends is to go up to a place called South Bass Island. That has a place called Put-in-Bay on it. Put-in-Bay is fantastic. It has so many different bars on it. You can rent a golf cart. You can go around on the golf carts. A lot of people take their kids. I remember seeing a photo of myself there at 2 years old when my parents took me there for the first time. Another one of the islands, Kelly's Island, is another popular place. There are people that have vacation homes up there that they spend a lot of time at during the summer. So even in the winter time, there are a lot of different ski areas. Ohio actually has 5 different public ski, resorts, slope areas. So if you love to ski and get outdoors in the winter time, or snow tubing in the winter time, there are places you can do that as well. So Ohio has a pretty diverse landscape, especially depending on where you are in the state. And you can go anywhere and enjoy the outdoors in Ohio, and I think that makes Ohio a good place to live. So let's switch gears and talk about Ohio's economy. And this always depends on where you're looking to live in Ohio. Of course, the economy is a little more robust in places like Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. Those are our 3 biggest cities. Growing up in the northeast part of the state in a small town, a lot of people, and they still do, rely on jobs in manufacturing, teaching, healthcare. My mom was a teacher. My dad owned his own business. And of course, I'm not saying those are the only jobs there. Those are just a lot of the jobs people have in that area. It wasn't too far from the Canton area or the Akron area. People might venture out and live closer to those parts of the state. We've got other cities like Youngstown and Toledo and Dayton, where, are kind of the in-between size cities in the state, where it might offer a little more job opportunity. Down now in the southern part of the state, not as much job opportunity, and the economy is a little slower down in those parts because those people really have to rely on, what's happening in those, towns. Athens, for example, a lot of the people down there are going to work for the university. So that really depends there. I can speak a little bit more when it comes to the Columbus area because that's where I've been for so long now. Columbus is starting to actually knock it out of the park. We're seeing so many companies wanting to come to town. A couple years ago, they announced, Intel coming to town. I don't know if you checked out that video that I made back then, but they're still in the process of building the semiconductor plant here. Other companies are expanding how much they're spending in the city, and people here in Columbus are going out talking to different companies, not only in the US, but also outside of the US. And we're seeing people from all over the world starting to move here because of our jobs and because of our economy. So overall, it just really depends what part of the state you're going to live in. But Ohio is seen as having a robust economy, especially around those bigger cities. And that makes Ohio a good place to live. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe, stay in the know of everything Columbus, its suburbs, and real estate. Now let's get back to, is Ohio a good place to live? Next up, education. And this is something that Ohio excels at. In the Columbus area alone, we have over 50 colleges and universities. Now, growing up in a small town, I had a pretty basic education, but I did have college prep courses. I also had the arts, so band, choir, art classes, a lot of extracurricular activities to get you ready for that next step if you're wanting to go to college. Now, something else that's seen in the small hometowns around Ohio are what's called branches or satellite colleges. They're offshoots of Ohio State or Kent State or Ohio University, for example. And that gives, kids an opportunity to decide whether they want to go to the main branches or stay at home, maybe save a little money and get their education there. Now, going off to Ohio University, it really was a great place to get that college education, to get me ready for adulthood. Might not be surprising, but my major was communications. So there you go. So anyway, colleges in Ohio are seen as top-notch, some of the best in the entire country. Now, if college isn't the next step, you might be thinking technical college. You might have kids that are thinking technical college or schools. We have tons of them. The opportunities start when you're in college or in high school, and you can actually go to those technical schools and then right out of high school get a job, or you can go to those schools right outside of high school and then go off to get a job. So we have a lot of opportunities when it comes to education here in Ohio, making it a good place to live. Now let's get into dollars and cents. When it comes to cost of living in Ohio, we're seen as one of the most affordable states. We're actually 8.1% below the national average when it comes to affordability, and we're number 3 on Moody's list for housing affordability. Now, it all depends on what part of the state you're looking to live in. If you're looking to live in a more rural or smaller town, it's going to be more affordable. Now, you might be able to find home prices $200,000, $150,000, or even under $100,000, depending on what part of the state it's in. And when you get closer to the big cities, of course, it becomes a little less affordable, but that, could depend on how much you're making. Now, we have seen home prices continue to rise in the past couple years, especially, like I said, in the Columbus area. We have so many people coming here for jobs and so many more jobs coming to the area. So that's making the home prices go up higher and higher because there's more competition for those homes. Now, if you pay attention to Zillow at all, their report for this year they're guesstimating that Cincinnati is going to be the second hottest market, Columbus the third hottest market, and Cleveland the 8th hottest market in the US. So we'll see how everything kind of shakes out and what happens there. Now, of course, it all depends too on what part of the cities, you're looking to live in, because there are definitely more parts, that are more affordable than others. Now, when it comes to taxes, that's something a lot of Ohioans have seen increase. especially this past year. I know in the Columbus area, we saw a pretty decent increase in our taxes. Now, if you're coming from a place like California, New York, some of the East Coast states, our taxes may not be seen as much, but if you've been here in Ohio for a while, you've probably seen those go up, and those might be straining you a little bit. Now, when it comes to cost of living and things like gas prices, grocery prices, things like that are pretty average when it comes to comparing to the rest of the country. But overall, we're seeing so many companies wanting to come to Ohio because of that affordability, because they know people will come here and be able to purchase homes and be able to live comfortably, because they might not be having to offer as high of a salary, to be honest. So that's some of the reasons some of the companies are coming here as well. So overall though, Ohio, one of the most affordable states in the country, and that's what makes it a good place to live. Last but certainly not least, let's talk about sense of community. Ohio, being in the Midwest, is seen as warm, welcoming, and friendly. If you're not from the Midwest, you might have to get used to things like driving through your neighborhood or walking through your neighborhood and waving or saying hello to your neighbors, going out to the mail, waving to your neighbors. I always laugh because when I worked in the corporate world, we would always get in trouble and they'd always say, please don't hold the door open for everybody. You'd have people open the doors for like 10, 20 people. And because of security reasons, when they started building new buildings, they put up security gates to only allow one person in at a time, because here in the Midwest, we don't like to let the door slam on the next person behind us. Now, moving here, it's not uncommon to become friends with your neighbors. You might share a drink with your neighbor. They might come over to visit. You might go out to dinner with them. Everybody here is a little more talkative. You might find out a little bit more about people. They might ask you a little more questions instead of thank you or instead of goodbye. There's a little joke about the Midwestern goodbye that it takes, a half an hour to leave because you start getting into more conversations, and there's all these steps to the Midwestern goodbye versus just getting up and saying goodbye and leaving. So there are so many jokes, like I said, about the Midwest, and really Ohio falls into all of those when it comes to being friendly. When it comes to, living here, our sense of community as well. We love parades. A lot of people go out for 4th of July parades, Christmas parades, just community events, Memorial Day, Labor Day events, a big sense of community overall in Ohio. And I've seen that no matter what part of the state that I've lived in. The people come together, the people are courteous, and kind overall. And that really does make Ohio a good place to live. I hope you've really enjoyed this video and finding out more on is Ohio a good place to live. In my opinion, Ohio is a great place to live. But why don't you come join us and find out for yourself? If you do happen to be looking to buy or sell in the Columbus area, that's something I can help you out with. You can put a comment below, or you can reach us at our information below. Make sure to check out another video right here, and I hope to see you next time.